NHL's 2026 All-Star Game is being replaced. Plus, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Izzy Martinez joined to discuss their new freestyle wrestling league. Hello and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from our FOS studio in New York City. I'm Renee Washington.
And I'm Dan Roberts, guest hosting today. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, before we get into our shoot-around, let's hear from a special guest in Germany.
Hello, Dan and Renee from Dortmund, Germany. I'm at Signal Iduna Park here in Dortmund. This is the home of the German super club Borussia Dortmund. This, by the way, one of the largest stadiums in all of Europe. Over 80,000 fans pack this stadium. Now, I'm here moderating a panel for Amazon all about AI in sports. And coming up later on Front Office Sports Today, my conversation with Julie Souza, who's the global head of sports for Amazon Web Services. We're going to talk a little bit more about AI in sports. Is it actually improving the fan experience? And also, is it benefiting players? All your big questions about that coming up later on in the show. But let's go back to you guys for some of the other stories we're following back in New York City.
Thanks, Baker. Now for the shoot-around. Trump administration is seeking to eliminate major federal funding for traumatic brain injury research and education. And Dan, this can undercut the CDC's $8.25 million dedicated towards education and research efforts to address head injuries in sports, which obviously will impact sports, especially starting at the youth level.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially because, as we've covered, the NFL has made great strides with reducing the number of concussions and head injuries per year. I believe we covered the last round of data. They always release the data at the end of every season. The timing is also strange. As we discussed right here on FOST yesterday, President Trump ended up being kind of the face of the announcement yesterday that the 2027 NFL draft will be in D.C. So for him now to peel back this research, just all kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely can impact in youth sports as well when you think about the trickle-down effect of not having that research and education in place for sports. Well, the Baltimore Ravens announced Justin Tucker is released in the midst of the NFL's investigation into these sexual misconduct allegations against him. And there were 16 massage therapists from 8 different spas and wellness centers in Baltimore. That spanned the first 5 seasons of his career in the NFL. And for the 7-time Pro Bowler, not a great season on the field last year, but even bigger to hear that dropped in early or the late of January, I should say.
And the Ravens statement here, of course, fully focused on football because it almost helped the team make this decision that he wasn't as good last season. He fell off. Now,
kicks.
I don't think it's a stretch to tie it to the news cycle. I mean, that's going to wear on a person's performance on the field, but something that I think we all saw coming and was necessary.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 years left on that massive 4-year extension he got. They drafted a kicker in Tyler Loop, so it definitely seemed like the dominoes were falling and the chips moving in the direction of him being out of Baltimore. Well, WNBA 3-time MVP A'ja Wilson officially dropped her first signature sneaker, the Nike A1, plus they had the promo that was directed by Malia Obama. I love the cultural elements, the black family, the ability to tie in Asia's own childhood into this. It was a beautiful promo, and the shoe looks great too, Dan.
Yeah, it's really cool. Now, of course, you know what's going to happen as a result of this, and this is the WNBA news cycle, but I think this is why it's fun and exciting and kind of scrappy. A lot of people responding, okay, where's the Caitlin Clark shoe? Now, Nike usually limits it to one signature sneaker in a season, so you're not going to get the Caitlin Clark shoe this year. The A'ja Wilson campaign has been really cool, giving her a signature logo, which happened last year already, so you started to get that rollout of her line. Of course, we've covered the fact that the drop happened in limited factor, and you've already got people online saying they couldn't get the sneakers. That's what Nike wants, to create that scarcity and create that buzz so that people feel like they wanted a pair and couldn't get one.
Yeah, when she signed that massive extension with Nike to become the highest paid women's basketball player, it kind of opened the door not only for her, but for the future generation, the Caitlin Clarks, maybe Angel Reese, others that will possibly be having some shoe deals in the future. All right, well, with the NHL canceling the All-Star Game and replacing it with an international event, let's get into more details in our main event. No NHL All-Star Game in 2026? What? Well, with the NHL planning to take a break next season, of course, there's the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. They are also saying that they're going to cut the game and replace it with an unspecified international event that will be played at the UBS Arena. Commissioner Gary Bettman also came out and said they're exploring ways to include 4 nations in the future. It won't be the 4 nations tournament again. Exactly, but there still seems to be some question marks around what's going to happen with this All-Star event?
Yeah, look, there's a lot here. I mean, we covered just what a massive success Four Nations was, the entire tournament, but then especially culminating in the second game that tournament of USA versus Canada. As you said, it's an unspecified international flavor event. So what is it going to be? If they're smart, USA, Canada, run it back. Don't overthink it, NHL. Don't say, well, we shouldn't just do the same thing. You can do the same thing because it was that exciting. As we know, it was like the most watched the most watched hockey game in the U.S. ever, I think.
Yeah.
At least in the Nielsen era. That's the asterisk there. So I think they should run it back. I mean, the numbers were crazy with this. And as we also reported, the regular season NHL ratings were down 7%, which is significant. Not much the league could say about that. Those were the facts. So, of course, they're making changes. Now, the NHL had announced that basically in every other year, they're going to have some sort of international best-on-best tournament.
Right.
Our features editor, Meredith Turitz, who's a big hockey gal, has written all about this. And what they should do in the odd number years is have something similar that generates buzz and excitement. Okay?
Exactly.
So I think what they're realizing is the All-Star game isn't that. Now, we showed that Kathy Hochul statement on the screen. Not pleased about this because arguably it's a loss for New York. The All-Star game was going to be at UBS Arena.
It was. Listen, the only thing Islanders fans have to hang their hats on, you did get the number one lottery pick last night. So that's a positive. And then also Bettman was saying that they're going to host whatever that international send-off is this year, and they'll host the All-Star game next year. So they will get 2 back-to-back years of hosting whatever happens during this break. But when you look at the numbers for what that tournament brought in, as you mentioned, the highest viewership actually going back to 1973. It's a Stanley Cup final for a hockey game. And also just the fact that it had more viewers than any other All-Star game in recent years across sports, which now leads you to wonder, are they maybe setting the tone for other sports to follow? The NBA and Adam Silver already come out and said they're considering exploring some sort of international flavor of a tournament instead of the traditional All-Star game, and you think they should? As well they should. I wrote in a column at the end of the Four Nations, one of my weekend columns, that basically you're seeing a new model for what sports leagues should do. They need something to break up the tedium of their long regular seasons. We all know why the NFL does so well. I mean, on one hand, it's the NFL, it's football, everyone loves football, but also it's the scarcity of games. You know that your team is only going to play 17 times, maybe 18 if they add an 18th game. Fine. But it's a finite thing. If I'm a Patriots fan, the Patriots play once a week. That's it. And I know that I'm going to watch that one game. The other leagues, MLB, NBA, NHL, the seasons are long. MLS, the season is long. We had Don Garber, the MLS commissioner, sitting in that seat a couple months ago, and he said, absolutely, we're looking at things like that. We've got to do some sort of cool one-offs. The NBA has tried it with the in-season cup. I don't think it has worked so far. It's too early in the season. I don't know. But every league should be copying what happened with Four Nations. Figure something out that is sort of separate but wrapped inside your long regular season. Money talks, though. I do think, though, unfortunately, Dan, when you look at the fact that hockey is a league where the highest paid players are making around 12 to 14 million, you've got 27 players in the NBA alone that are making over $40 million. So when they talk about protecting their bodies, staying healthy, wanting to value the championship runs over an exhibition game and an all-star game. That is why for MLB, their home run derby and all-star game, pitchers will throw maybe a pitch and then be done. The NBA, they'll sit out. The NFL had to move to flag football for their Pro Bowl. So I do think there's value, correct. And I think that's the hard part is NHL players have more of a pride in that sense because there's more to play for. So I do feel like maybe with all of this, it's going to at least open the door for more conversations. But more importantly, and this is an exciting moment for hockey with the ability to go back to the Olympics for the first time since 2014, that they're excited to roll out this new plan. And you're onto something that, the last thing you want is to get injured either playing flag football or playing in the Pro Bowl or in the NBA, playing in the in-season cup, right? I mean, everyone thinks, okay, you won the in-season cup. Well, what does that mean? It means nothing. Now, because of that, and it's never going to happen, but part of my suggestion for these leagues is maybe you shorten your season. I mean, the NBA season should start at Christmas. It was a big story this year. And the NFL stole Christmas Day. I mean, who did we debut FOS Today with, the relaunch? Nate Burleson saying, sorry, LeBron, the NFL owns Christmas Day. So if I were the NBA, I'd start the season a little later. In the lockout year, it feels recent, but it was years and years ago, it was delayed enough that it started around Christmas. And I remember everyone saying, this is how it should always be, right? They should consider shorter seasons, but they won't do it. Exactly. Lots to definitely consider there. And we've got more to consider on what wrestling should do as Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Izzy Martinez join us after this break to talk some wrestling here on FOS Today. Stay tuned. Welcome back into FOS Today. In our New York City studio, we brought in legends, Hall of Famers, and some icons from the wrestling world and the sports world making a splash. We've got a multi-wrestling champion between WWE Championships, WCW World Heavyweight Champions, Hulk Hogan. Hell yeah, brother. We've got also Eric Bischoff, who served in several roles as executive producer, VP, general manager, and you are a promoter, booker. You do everything as a performer as well.
I take out the garbage, water the plants, you name it.
And then Izzy Martinez, one of the most decorated coaches in the sport that also has had an opportunity to coach 8 UFC champions and the founder of Izzy Freestyle Wrestling. A lot of accolades between the three of you, but why we're here today, and one of the most important things, is to talk about this exciting new venture you guys have, the latest of your accomplishments as you are launching your new unscripted freestyle wrestling in Real American Freestyle. I'm so excited for you guys. Congratulations. I'll start with you, Eric. Just this culmination of all this coming together. Why now? What was the vision that drew you guys to want to launch RAF now?
You know, I've been a fan of amateur wrestling pretty much all my life and spent just enough time in it to really appreciate how dedicated these athletes are, how intense they are, and how unique they are even as athletes among athletes. And the opportunity to be a part of something with Hulk Hogan and somebody with the credibility of Izzy and tap into that underserved market, create a television property in a league for amateur wrestlers to be able to continue and compete in is really a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I have to go to you, Hulk, because you have so many different experiences you pull into this. All of you do, of course. But when you look over the years of your career, and whether it's in the ring or in the business ventures, the influences of the Vince McMahons, and looking at your experiences in TNA, WWE, how does all that help you try to create something different that provides an opportunity to grow the sport of wrestling?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of open lanes during my career, and some of those open lanes, I call them Wild Wild West deals, like the George Foreman grill that I missed and stuff like that comes along. For several reasons, I missed that deal. But, you know, we had an opportunity with wrestling. With Eric, we've done it before. We've beat everybody before. And I've always had a tremendous respect for the amateur wrestlers. When Brock Lesnar transitioned from UFC to WWE, I got him first. It was like locking up with a freight train. It was not fun. I got Kurt Angle right out of the chute when he came over. I didn't work with Benjamin Shelton or Charlie Haas, but we've had so many great guys come through that I've always had respect for the amateur wrestlers. And so once I got with my partner, Chad Bronstein, because we were pushing Real American Beer and getting the beer out there, we said we have so many opportunities for branding. And we started looking at TV properties and different things. So right away I called Eric, because he's the master at this stuff. You know, the reality TV and the scripted stuff was kind of flattening out, and live sports was getting picked up, like Shaun White's snowboarding, the girls volleyball league, actually the chess playing league and everything. There's just so many things. And so we started looking into this amateur wrestling space, and these guys have been, guys and girls, have dedicated their lives since they were young kids all the way to the NCAA level, the gold medal, silver medal level, the Olympics. And then all of a sudden it could just end. Well, now you have an opportunity to pay these amateur athletes, you know, so that's why we're calling it professional freestyle, because we do get to pay them. That's what got me interested, the right team with Eric. And when Izzy, our linchpin, had the connections to all the athletes, all the wrestlers, I went, let's do this.
I love that you're filling in the blanks of what's needed in the sport. And I know you mentioned, as you were teasing out, we'll get to the exciting promo work you guys have done, teasing out that Izzy Mania is going to go crazy as you guys were able to announce your addition to the team.
Well, like Hulk was saying, his partner, Chad, his son actually wrestles for me. So one day at the wrestling school, Chad and I were just talking about just promotion and then the beer and then just the love for wrestling and, you know, something like, you know, what's our goal? Our goal is to build the sport of wrestling and give these wrestlers opportunities that they've never had before.
NIL, college athletes, a lane that you guys are getting into media coverage. Eric, I'll stick with you on this one. What are your hopes for how this can expand in terms of opportunities for college athletes and NIL spaces, and also for the media coverage as well?
Well, the media coverage is exciting because, as we all know, sports rights, television rights are kind of at a fever pitch right now, and we're looking forward to taking advantage of that. But we also know this is going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight success. We're going to have to walk. We're going to stumble once or twice, but we're going to get where we're going. That's the nature of amateur wrestling, right? Through the process of getting to know these athletes will create a connection with the audience. It's no different than any other sports franchise, really.
Yeah, and how are those athletes?
Actually, when the light bulb went off, I was with Izzy first, and I was kind of concerned, do these guys have any swagger? Because in professional, let me tell you something, brother, everybody's got their gimmick or their catchphrase. They smell what the rock's cooking. And I just didn't know if these college or these amateur athletes or these Olympic people had any personality, but they've been watching TV. They've been watching what's going on. They know about branding, merchandising, licensing, and they get it already. So when I met with a lot of these kids, they all had that like Conor McGregor swagger already. And then when Eric told me his idea, after talking with Izzy and seeing his wrestlers, then when Eric told me his idea that he wanted to shoot it like The Voice and shoot that backstory and go to their hometown and see what they've been through, and this guy's father died of cancer, or his mom raised 6 kids, or what he'd been through. I went, oh my God, these kids are gonna get it. The backstory is gonna mean a lot. So when they come out through that tunnel to their music, the audience is already gonna care about them. So without doing the entertainment and pushing too far, it's already gonna be there. Because these kids get it, and they know the more crazy they get out there, their merchandise, their licensing, all this stuff is going to take off. So it all seems to be the perfect storm right now.
Well, I'm also looking forward to being able to bring it into my living room and watch real American freestyle, because the three of you are putting together an incredible new league that's going to pioneer change for not only wrestling, but sports in general. And I appreciate you guys for joining us here on FOS today to weigh in on all the exciting things we can expect with that launch come this summer, come August, that we'll have in Cleveland for our first of the RAF. So Hulk, Eric, Izzy, thank you guys so much.
But you should probably change your vision and not be sitting on the couch at home. You should come be a guest of ours and be at the 30th event in August. And be right up front and see if you can take on any of those girls.
Izzy's twisting my arm over here. I guess I have to go.
That would be great.
Kennedy Blades, you got your first match.
Listen, I was a Hall of Fame soccer player. I got some athleticism. Don't let the fit fool you. So maybe I'll have to see what I can do. And I got time to prep. So, okay, I'll mark my calendar, and I hope you guys mark your calendars too for August with the launch of the Real American Freestyle, the new league that's changing the wrestling and the world of wrestling with these three behind it. Hulk, Eric, Izzy, thank you so much. And after this break, we'll have more here on FOS Today. Welcome back into Front Office Sports Today, and AI is taking over sports. We're not talking about Allen Iverson, though. NBC has shared their plans to use artificial intelligence to recreate Jim Fagan's voiceover in their NBA coverage in honor of the iconic 1990s promos where he was narrating around stars like MJ, Shaq, Hakeem. Then NBC's leaning all the way in. Round Ball's back, Round Ball Rock is back, Carmelo Anthony, Jim Fagan voiceover. What are your thoughts?
Don't forget AI Al Michaels. Remember that from the Olympics? So this is not at all NBC's first foray. Of course, Al Michaels very much alive. Jim Fagan late, no longer with us. It's interesting. I mean, look, there's lots of ways in which AI can be used to improve, enhance, help things, whether it's across writing, media, and it's not all bad. I mean, I think there's a misconception like AI is coming for our jobs. This is a cool thing you can do with AI. Now, all that said, will some people say it's creepy? Almost certainly. Absolutely. But look, people said that a decade ago when we did hologram concerts of Tupac, remember?
And they still go.
So yeah, sure. I mean, they fill stadiums for that stuff.
Yeah, it's creepy, but also very nostalgic as well. So I'm excited to see how it gets rolled out. Well, while in Germany, my co-host Baker had a chance to discuss the impact of AI on sports, especially looking at the fan experience, catching up with Julie Souza. So let's check out that interview from Germany.
From Signal Iduna Park here in Dortmund, Germany, home to Borussia Dortmund. And of course, we're joined here by the global head of sports over at AWS, Julie Souza. Julie, thank you so much for joining us. You can't talk about Amazon with all the technology and the things that you guys are working on. Let's talk about how it's improving the fan experience through AWS and so many other things.
Oh gosh, so many ways. I think one part of it is all the data that's coming out of sports now and how that's informing things like Bundesliga match facts, relevant here for the U.S. Football fans, things like Next Gen Stats, NHL Edge IQ, Formula One Insights, all of this data that's coming out of sports now. We could talk about the volumes in which that data is coming because it's fast and furious, but it's really helping fans understand the games that they're watching at a much greater depth.
The one concern with this technology is it curtailing the magic of, that last second shot or the penalty kick at the end of the game where all of a sudden data and analytics are becoming such a big thing for coaching. Do you feel like it is impeding the magic of the game?
I love this question. I love debating this question because I think, we're collecting this data and how it's used, especially from a fan-facing experience. I mean, the data collection and the models that inform that's the science, right? But the art is how do we use it in storytelling in a way that actually brings the excitement level up.
I think obviously it's from a content perspective, it's great. I think though there's always the security and the privacy question. There's so much data that these companies are getting on fans. How do you sort of assuage fans' fears that their privacy and data is still top of mind?
I mean, data security is job one at AWS, right? And ultimately, this data is that of our customers, right? And so opt-ins and things like that and complying with all the laws, I mean, that's what we help customers do. But, you're seeing people want to opt into these experiences because they are richer and they are more compelling, whether it's a data cast or an animated cast or just wanting to be marketed to in a way that you feel seen and valued, right?
Absolutely. Julie, thank you so much for talking to us here in Dortmund, Germany. Can't believe we're doing this across the country.
I know.
All right, let's go back to you guys in New York for more of the headlines that we're following today.
Well, thank you, Julie and Baker, for that great conversation. And now let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler.
Blah, blah, blah.
The star-studded Met Gala rolled out the theme Superfine Tailoring Black Style, celebrating the evolution of Black style from the 18th century to the present day. And Dan, we saw so many athletes, especially out in their best dress. You look at the different images. Which ones were your favorite? Or maybe not your favorite?
Well, really cool to see all the athletes who are there. We're looking at Joe Burrow here. It's funny, there's some influencer on Instagram who, rated all the outfits and said, she ate. Or next, and he did not have a great review of Saquon, who basically just wore a tux. And he said, try again, kind of low-key brutal. But, we know Joe Burrow is a big style guy. I liked a lot of the outfits. I mean, look, here we got, I love this. Are we seeing this on screen? The white tux with the coats. Oh, Sabrina Ionescu looks terrific. People really just, come out. And it's like, people forget, this is also about an actual event that is going to be at the Metropolitan Museum. So, the event that you talked about, or the exhibit, I should say, the exhibit opens soon. That'll be cool to see. It's just amazing. I love following along. It's something I imagine I'll never go to in my life. But
well,
cool
it's $75,000 for a ticket, unless you get invited. You get invited or you have to pay $75,000 and then you still have to get approved. So I don't know, it's possible. But it is great to see more athletes get involved every year. We've got the honorary chair, LeBron. You've got the co-chair in Lewis Hamilton, Simone Biles, Angel Reese involved. I love Angel and Simone's outfits, by the way.
Of course, LeBron
and although
couldn't go
my
'cause
running
of the
back did not look good, my quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was silent and profound with his wife, Bree. So
and by the way, real quick, this is the obvious culmination of the growth of sports and fashion.
Correct.
We're seeing all these athletes get more into fashion.
And I love to see it. Well, we love to see you guys here, and hopefully you'll join us tomorrow as we've got Ryan Blaney from NASCAR joining us here on FOS Today. For Dan, Baker, and myself, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.